Today, my travels have brought me to Piccadilly Circus. Now, Piccadilly Circus is one of the busiest stations on the Underground, located in the very heart of the West End. It was originally opened in 1906 as a Bakerloo line station, but between 1925 and 1928 it was rebuilt by architect Charles Holden to sit entirely below the surface. The new design was not only intended to provide greater capacity, but to represent London as the centre of the world. Up above sits the circus itself, instantly recognisable for its illuminated adverts, and for this chap here. This is the Shaftesbury Memorial Fountain, more commonly known as Eros. The statue was put up as a memorial to the 7th Earl of Shaftesbury. Shaftesbury was a notable social campaigner, working for the abolition of child labour, improvements in treatment of the mentally ill, and the suppression of the British trade in opium. The memorial was unveiled in 1893 and was the first sculpture ever to be cast in aluminium. It has, for most of its life, been subject to a case of mistaken identity. While everyone knows this statue as Eros, it's actually the opposite. Now, Eros is probably better known by his Roman name, Cupid. He's the god of romantic love, of lust. It's from him that we get the word erotic. But Eros has a less well-known twin brother, Anteros. Anteros represents a different kind of love, selfless, philanthropic love for humanity as a whole. And that's who the memorial actually represents. But Anteros isn't as popular as Eros for reasons that I'll leave you to speculate upon, and so the statue quickly became known by the incorrect name. Which is kind of unfortunate, because remembering Shaftesbury with Eros raises questions about his lordship's personal life. Unwarranted questions, I'm sure. You may have heard the statue referred to as the Angel of Christian Charity, which is not completely wrong. The Victorians were quick to catch on to the unfortunate implications of Eros and tried to officially rename the statue to something more appropriate, but it's never properly caught on. Possibly because the Angel of Christian Charity is more cumbersome than Anteros and isn't really a mythological figure. So, Eros it is. Oh well, at least Shaftesbury has his avenue. And that raises another point. A popular piece of London folklore has it that Anteros points down Shaftesbury Avenue, and that's where his arrow ended up. He buries his shaft in Shaftesbury Avenue, you see. However, a quick glance will show that the avenue is actually behind Anteros. While it's true that the statue has been moved a couple of times, firstly during the aforementioned rebuilding work on the Underground, secondly during the Second World War, and thirdly during a restoration in the 80s, historians generally agree that this is a myth, albeit a cute story. Maybe these myths and legends that have gathered around the sculpture should be taken as a compliment. The statue was controversial on its unveiling, with some considering it vulgar and dangerously sexy. But since then, it's become as well known to Londoners as St. Paul's or the Tower. Whether you know it as Eros, Anteros, the Angel of Christian Charity, or the Shaftesbury Memorial, it's an icon. Hi all. Hope you enjoyed this erotic episode of Tales from the Tube. If so, please leave a like or consider subscribing. And let me know what you think. What do you call the statue? Does it matter? If everyone thinks it's Eros, does that make it Eros? These are the questions that keep me awake at night. Anyway, I'll see you next time for another Tale from the Tube.